Let me walk you through what I did to go from someone who couldn't answer a question in a class to speaking confidently in front of 40 excited strangers. It's a journey, but I promise you, it's worth it. Where I was. Public speaking used to terrify me. I wasn't just bad at it, I was the person who would avoid eye contact at all costs when a teacher asked a question. Even if I knew the answer, something inside me froze. I couldn't speak. My heart would race, my hands would shake, and my voice, if I managed to push a word out, would betray my nerves. I'd sound like I was standing on a shake bridge during an earthquake. To make it worse, if I had to present anything, it felt like preparing for war. I remember popping pills to lower my heart rate just so I could function. I'd record myself over and over, listening to check if my voice shook. Sometimes I even thought about faking an illness to avoid showing up. It was that bad. I wasn't just scared of public speaking, I was terrified. And if this is you, if you feel like you'll faint at the thought of addressing a group, I get it. The problem? Fear. Fear was my biggest enemy, and I realized that fear doesn't just sit there quietly, it grows if you let it. Every time I avoided speaking up, it gave my fear more power, and the more power it had, the harder it became to face. But I learned that fear has a sneaky weakness. It doesn't like to be confronted. The solution: flooding. The technique that changed my life is called flooding. It's simple but not easy. Flooding means immersing yourself in the very thing you're scared of. Afraid of water? Go swimming. Afraid of heights? Find a safe way to climb something tall. And if you're afraid of public speaking, like I was, the solution is to speak. And it's not about doing it once and expecting magic. It's about doing it again and again and again until your fear gets bored and leaves you alone. How I started: an unlikely opportunity. Let me tell you about the moment that forced me to face my fear. My background is in art, and I accidentally stumbled upon an internship opportunity at an art museum. But they were looking for museum guides. This sounded like a nightmare for me. Guiding people through a museum meant talking constantly, not just to one or two people, but to groups of 20, 30, sometimes even 40 strangers. But something inside me said, just try. Maybe it was desperation, maybe it was stubbornness. Either way, I sign up. The first day of training was brutal. I was sweating like I'd run a marathon and hadn't even started speaking yet. I remember one of the instructors asked me to introduce myself, and my voice cracked like a 13 years old, and I felt like running away. But then something unexpected happened. One of the senior students gave us a demo tour of a section of the museum, and her voice shook the entire time. It was clear she was struggling, just like me. And in that very moment, I realized that everyone starts somewhere. She didn't give up, so why should I? That day, I made a decision. No matter how scared I was going to face my fear head on. I started small. In our training sessions, I practiced speaking to a handful of classmates, and my voice still shook. But I kept going. Over time, I started leading actual museum tours. At first, it was terrifying. My hands were so cold, they could have been used to chill drinks at a summer party. But something amazing happened. The more I spoke, the less scary it became. By my third or fourth tour, I realized my hands weren't shaking as much. By my sixth or seventh, I wasn't even thinking about my voice. I was too focused on sharing the art and history. Here's what I want you to take away from my story. Fear is a habit. Break it. Fear grows when you avoid it, but it shrinks when you face it. Every time you speak, even if your voice shakes, you're teaching your brain that public speaking isn't dangerous. Start small. You don't have to give a TED talk on your first try. Start with something manageable. Speak to a small group of friends, answer a question in class, or even practice in front of a mirror. Embrace failure. You're going to mess up, you're going to shake, you might even forget what you were saying mid sentence. And that's okay. Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the process. Flood yourself with opportunities. The more you speak, the easier it gets. At first, it feels impossible, but with consistent practice, you'll get stronger. Focus on your message, not yourself. One of the biggest shifts for me was realizing that public speaking isn't about me, it's about the people I'm speaking to. When you focus on delivering value, whether it's sharing knowledge, a story, or a perspective, you stop worrying so much about how you look or sound. A friendly reminder. But here's what kept me going. I didn't want fear to control my life. I didn't want to look back years later and regret not trying. And if you're watching this, I know you don't want that either. So take that first step. Flood yourself with opportunities to speak. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. If I could go from trembling at the thought of answering a question in class to leading museum tours, you can conquer your fear too. And trust me, there's nothing more powerful than proving to yourself that you're stronger than your fears. So go out there, face your fear, and speak your heart. The world needs your voice. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.